7 unseen signs she holds a rare spiritual power. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom, where we explore the unseen depths of the human soul. Have you ever met someone whose presence feels ancient, magnetic, or even sacred? Someone who seems to hold a mysterious kind of power that words can't explain? Today's video, 7 Unseen Signs She Holds a Rare Spiritual Power. Carl Jung tried to warn us, uncovers the psychology behind that rare energy. As you listen, reflect on the women in your life, or perhaps within yourself, who carry this silent strength. What does spiritual power look like to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And let's begin this journey into the hidden realms of feminine energy and self-realization. 1. The aura of silent gravity. She doesn't need to speak to command attention. Her energy does it for her. There's something ancient and magnetic about her, a vibration that hums beneath the surface, quiet yet impossible to ignore. It's not her beauty or charm that captures people, but the invisible field surrounding her, the spiritual gravity that makes others pause, question, and feel. In her presence, the unconscious stirs. Carl Jung would say she holds a rare spiritual power, the kind that mirrors the hidden depths of others, exposing what they love, fear, and deny within themselves. People look at her and see what they long for, or what they've buried. She becomes the canvas for their projections, admired for her mystery, resented for her mirror. She doesn't belong to anyone's imagination, yet everyone sees something of themselves in her. Her silence speaks volumes. It disarms without intention, heals without trying, and provokes without effort. She moves through the world not as someone who needs to prove her worth, but as someone who has remembered it. Her spirituality is lived, not preached. Her awakening is quiet, not loud. She carries herself with the grace of someone who has faced her shadows and found peace within them. Her stillness carries the weight of unspoken wisdom. People feel it as an aura, soft yet undeniable, like a sacred presence that both comforts and challenges. She doesn't chase attention. Attention simply orbits around her. Her essence reminds the world that true power is never performed. It is embodied. Jung warned that such women often carry the burden of projection. Their light can awaken or unsettle, depending on who perceives it. To those trapped in illusion, her energy feels threatening because it exposes falsehood. To the awakened, she feels like truth itself, pure, grounded, and transcendent. Her presence pulls the unconscious to the surface, demanding honesty from those who encounter her. She becomes both a mirror and a catalyst, revealing the difference between attraction and alignment, illusion and reality. Those who fear her don't truly fear her. They fear the parts of themselves that her presence brings into the light. This is the essence of spiritual awakening, to embody both shadow and light without losing balance. She walks through life as a paradox, gentle yet powerful, detached yet deeply connected. Her aura carries a sacred duality. She destroys illusion while restoring faith. Her power is not domination, but resonance. She doesn't persuade or control. She vibrates truth so purely that lies cannot survive near her. To stand in her presence is to face your own soul, and not everyone is ready for that reflection. Jung called this phenomenon the living archetype of the divine feminine, the anima awakened. She represents the mystery of consciousness itself, nurturing yet fierce, receptive yet transformative. To men, she becomes both muse and mirror, calling them to evolve beyond ego and into essence. To the world, she symbolizes what spirituality truly means: awakening through awareness, power through peace. Her gravity cannot be seen, only felt. It bends the emotional atmosphere around her, drawing people into deeper dimensions of themselves. She does not speak to be understood. She speaks through vibration, through presence, through the stillness that says everything. In her quiet gravity lies a truth that few can face, but none can forget. Have you ever met someone whose silent presence could shift the entire energy of a room? If this video helped you recognize that rare kind of spiritual gravity, share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've just realized you might hold that power yourself, comment, "I embrace my aura." Let's awaken this spiritual wisdom together and step deeper into the path of true spiritual awakening. 2. The paradox of solitude and connection. Though many are drawn to her light, she often walks alone, wrapped in a silence that feels both heavy and holy. There is a strange paradox within her, an unseen tension between her ability to connect deeply with others and her need to retreat into solitude to protect her energy. People are magnetized by her presence, sensing a depth that cannot be explained by beauty or words, yet she stands apart, quietly observing the world from a sacred distance. She sees through masks too easily, reads emotions too clearly, and feels pain that isn't hers to carry. This heightened perception, while a gift of spirituality, also becomes her burden, because when you see through illusions, small talk becomes noise and pretense feels unbearable. So she withdraws, not out of arrogance or coldness, but out of a deep need to cleanse her spirit from the density of the world. In that solitude, her soul does not wither, it expands. Her loneliness becomes a sacred laboratory for transformation, a temple where dreams, visions, and symbols become her language with the unseen. It is here that intuition sharpens into insight, where emotional wounds dissolve into wisdom, and where true spiritual growth takes root. The silence around her is not emptiness, but communion, a dialogue between her soul and the divine, between her shadow and her light. Every quiet moment is a conversation with her higher self, where she learns that connection is not always found in people, but often discovered in the stillness within. Her solitude becomes a crucible, burning away the noise of the world so that her truth can rise, pure and unshakable. Those who do not understand her think she is distant, but those who sense energy know she is attuning to something higher. She moves through life like a mirror of the unseen, reflecting what others hide from themselves. Carl Jung warned that such souls walk a fine line between illumination and destruction, for when the psyche holds great light, it must also face great shadow. That is why her isolation is sacred. It is not escape, but preservation. In silence, she balances empathy with boundaries, compassion with clarity, and power with peace. Her solitude teaches her that the truest connection is not constant communication, but resonance, the kind of connection that transcends words, built on energy and presence rather than proximity. And so she learns to honor her aloneness as a spiritual discipline. It is in the moments when the world falls quiet that she feels most alive, most awake, most herself. She realizes that solitude is not separation from others, but union with her own essence. Through this divine stillness, she reclaims her strength, her clarity, and her peace. She becomes the calm in the storm, the silent gravity that others feel but cannot explain. Her solitude refines her spirit until her presence itself becomes medicine soft yet powerful, distant yet healing, untouchable yet deeply connected to all of life. 3. The dangerous gift of intuition. Her intuition is not just a feeling, it is a force that defies logic, a silent knowing that whispers the truth long before the world can see it. She senses deception before it's spoken, feels the sadness hidden behind someone's smile, and often foresees events that others can't explain. It's as if she carries an ancient radar within her, tuned not to words, but to energy. Carl Jung once said, "Intuition does not denote something contrary to reason, but something outside of the province of reason." That is the realm she lives in, where emotion, energy, and truth flow like an unseen river. This intuitive woman doesn't guess, she perceives. Yet this spiritual wisdom that allows her to see what others ignore often makes her feel alien to the world around her, as if her gift has set her apart from ordinary existence. People are drawn to her and afraid of her at the same time. They feel seen, exposed, and transformed by her presence. She walks into a room and everything shifts, as though the atmosphere itself recognizes her awareness. But this power is double-edged. Jung warned that intuition, when not balanced with grounding and reason, can overwhelm the psyche. The intuitive woman sees too much, feels too deeply, and sometimes carries the emotional weight of others like it's her own. She becomes both healer and mirror, revealing truths that people aren't ready to face. Her gift is magnetic, but it isolates her, because few can stand before the mirror of pure authenticity without trembling. She may wake up with a heavy heart, sensing storms before they arrive, or feel a chill when someone's intentions turn dark. This constant awareness can exhaust her spirit, making her question whether her insight is a blessing or a curse. Jung's teachings on individuation remind us that every gift must be balanced by integration. When she grounds herself through stillness, prayer, meditation, or art, her intuition becomes a source of harmony instead of chaos. She learns that not every truth must be spoken, not every vision must be shared, and not every energy must be absorbed. Wisdom lies in knowing when to listen to the voice within and when to let silence speak for her. Her power grows not by seeing more, but by feeling less burdened by what she sees. Her intuition then transforms from a dangerous sensitivity into sacred clarity, a divine channel through which compassion flows. Jung believed that the unconscious, when made conscious, becomes the guiding light of our lives. And for this woman, intuition is that light. It is her language with the universe, her invisible dialogue with destiny. When she learns to walk with it, not ahead of it or behind it, her gift no longer isolates her. It connects her with the rhythm of creation itself, where spiritual wisdom meets divine peace. Comment below, "I trust my intuition," if you're ready to embrace your rare spiritual gift and walk the path of higher awareness. And if this message resonates with your soul, share your thoughts in the comments. Your intuition might be guiding someone else's awakening too. 4. The shadow magnet. Radiating light means attracting darkness, for in the realm of spirituality and spiritual awakening, light and shadow are inseparable twins. She doesn't need to speak to be noticed. Her energy alone shifts the atmosphere. Wherever she goes, people either adore her or despise her with equal intensity, not because of her personality, but because her presence acts as a mirror. She awakens what lies buried within others, their envy, fear, and hidden resentment. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That is precisely what happens when people encounter her. They are confronted with the parts of themselves they've long denied. Her calm presence unsettles those addicted to chaos. Her quiet confidence intimidates those who live in self-doubt, and her freedom provokes those trapped in conformity. She does not intentionally provoke anyone. She simply mirrors what they hide. Her very existence forces others to face the truth they run from, and this is both her curse and her gift. The shadow magnet lives between love and misunderstanding. People project their deepest emotions onto her without realizing it. They sense something ancient, something that sees straight through pretense and that scares them. Her stillness is often mistaken for arrogance, her independence for pride, and her self-possession for danger. But the truth is, she absorbs the world like a sponge of consciousness. The pain, the jealousy, the unspoken grief around her, she feels it all. To the unaware, she becomes the target of projection. Yet to those ready to awaken, she becomes a silent catalyst for healing. Her energy does not heal through words, but through resonance. It vibrates at a frequency that compels others to confront their buried emotions. Those who spend time near her often find themselves crying without reason, forgiving without understanding why, and awakening to new layers of truth within themselves. This is the sacred paradox of her presence. She heals by reflecting what hurts. She restores by revealing what was repressed. But this power comes with a price. To radiate light in a world still ruled by shadow is to walk a lonely path. The same gift that makes her magnetic can also make her vulnerable. Jung warned that the healer must never become consumed by the wounds she seeks to mend. For when she identifies too deeply with others' suffering, she risks losing her own center. These women must therefore learn the discipline of energetic boundaries, the art of compassion without absorption, of love without depletion. They must understand that saving everyone is not their purpose. Embodying truth is. Their strength lies not in how much darkness they can endure, but in how clearly they can remain anchored in their own light while darkness surrounds them. The shadow magnet ultimately learns that real power is not dominance, but awareness. She sees that darkness is not her enemy, but her mirror. Her purpose is not to escape it, but to transform it through consciousness. When others project their pain onto her, she no longer takes it personally. She knows that what they hate in her is what they refuse to see in themselves. And in that recognition, she becomes untouchable, not because she hides her light, but because she understands that the light was never meant to be liked, only to reveal. Her spiritual awakening is not a gentle journey of bliss, but a sacred initiation through fire and shadow. She embodies Jung's timeless truth that the gold is in the dark, carrying within her the rare alchemy of turning projection into wisdom and pain into awakening. 5. The dance between light and darkness. These women embody both tenderness and fire, carrying within them the paradox of strength and softness that makes their presence unforgettable. They have walked through suffering, not as victims, but as alchemists of the soul, turning every scar into sacred wisdom. Pain has been their teacher, solitude their sanctuary, and heartbreak their initiation into higher truth. Through the dark nights of their lives, they discovered that spirituality is not an escape from pain, but a transformation of it, an awakening that burns away illusions and reveals the eternal light of the spirit beneath. They are whole because they have made peace with their imperfection. They do not deny their shadow. They have befriended it, danced with it, and learned to draw power from its depths. As Carl Jung once said, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." And these women have lived that truth. Their roots run deep into the soil of suffering, and from it blooms the divine grace that makes their souls luminous. There is something magnetic about their energy, calm yet powerful, silent yet commanding. When they enter a room, the atmosphere shifts, not because they seek attention, but because their aura carries a frequency that resonates with authenticity. People are drawn to them without understanding why. It's not physical beauty that captivates, but spiritual depth. Their eyes seem to see through layers of illusion into the truth of who you are. To stand in their presence is to feel both comforted and exposed, healed yet undone. For they have the rare ability to look beyond appearances and touch the unseen essence of your soul. They do not judge what they see. They simply reflect it, showing you the parts of yourself you've long avoided. That's why being near them feels like standing before a mirror that reveals not your flaws, but your forgotten light. Their tenderness is not weakness. It is the mark of someone who has faced her own darkness and chosen to keep her heart open. Their patience has been shaped by years of endurance. Their grace is carved from the rough edges of survival. They know that to love deeply is to risk deeply, and still they love, not out of naivety, but from spiritual strength. Their spirituality is quiet yet fierce, rooted in awareness, not performance. They trust their intuition more than external noise, guided by a divine compass that never misleads. They live with presence and intention, walking the fine line between surrender and strength, compassion and clarity. They understand that spiritual growth is not about rejecting the human experience, but about transmuting it, about finding the sacred even in sorrow, the lesson within loss, and the divine within imperfection. Those who cross paths with such women often find themselves changed. Her presence awakens something dormant in you, a remembrance of your own divine essence. She is not here to rescue or reform. She is here to remind you of what you already are. Her spiritual power lies not in dominance, but in reflection, not in control, but in presence. She doesn't impose her light on others. She allows it to shine effortlessly, illuminating the hidden corners of those around her. To encounter her is to feel the delicate balance of heaven and earth, strength and surrender, shadow and radiance, all coexisting within one being who has mastered the eternal dance between light and darkness. Leave your like and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And don't forget to activate the notification bell so you never miss another awakening insight like this. Let this message remind you that balance is a sacred type in the comments. I embrace both my light and my darkness. 6. The unyielding inner voice. There is a voice within her that cannot be silenced, a force that rises above fear, judgment, and conformity. A voice that Carl Jung called the self, the divine compass guiding every soul toward wholeness. It doesn't whisper, it commands. It tells her to walk away from what no longer serves her, to release relationships that drain her, to defy the rules that confine her spirit, and to live in absolute authenticity. This voice does not negotiate with the ego. It dismantles illusions, even when it hurts. When she suppresses it, life begins to crumble from the inside. Anxiety, depression, and chaos creep in as the soul's rebellion against a life lived out of alignment. But when she listens, when she follows that inner current with courage, something extraordinary happens. Her life begins to flow with spiritual freedom, purpose, and divine synchronicity. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." She understands this truth at her core. Her choices may seem reckless to others, but they are sacred acts of alignment. Every step she takes away from toxicity is a return to her own essence. She knows that spiritual awakening is not a gentle escape. It is a fire that burns everything false, leaving only truth behind. She is not afraid of solitude because she knows solitude is sacred ground. In silence, she hears the whispers of the universe. In stillness, she feels the pulse of creation moving through her veins. Her spiritual wisdom deepens as she learns that awakening is not about being perfect, but about being whole, about embracing both light and shadow, heaven and the underworld of her own psyche. As she grows, she becomes fluent in the language of energy. She senses vibrations before words are spoken. She reads emotions hidden behind polite smiles. Her intuition sharpens like a blade of truth, cutting through pretense and illusion. This sensitivity is her power, not her weakness. Through pain, she has learned discernment. Through darkness, she has found clarity. Jung believed that there is no coming to consciousness without pain, and she embodies that wisdom with grace. Her scars tell stories of transformation, each one proof that she chose healing over bitterness, truth over comfort, growth over stagnation. Yet the world often misunderstands her. They call her distant, difficult, or too deep, not realizing she simply refuses to betray her soul for approval. Her authenticity exposes falsehood. Her peace unsettles those addicted to chaos. She is not trying to be better than anyone. She is simply trying to be whole. Her rare spiritual power lies in her refusal to conform, in her commitment to live as truth itself. She does not seek attention. She seeks alignment. She does not crave validation. She honors vibration. Every decision she makes becomes an act of divine rebellion against a world built on pretense. This is what Carl Jung tried to warn us about the power of a woman who listens to her soul. She cannot be controlled, manipulated, or confined because her allegiance is to something higher. She moves through life with quiet certainty, guided by a wisdom that transcends logic. Her very presence awakens something in others, a reminder of what it feels like to be real. And though her path is not easy, it is sacred, for she carries the rare gift of spiritual wisdom, the courage to live as the self intended, free, whole, and utterly unshakable. 7. The burden of transformation. Their lives are not written for ease or comfort, but for evolution, as if the universe itself chose them to become vessels of awakening. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every loss, and every rebirth is a sacred initiation designed to strip away illusion and reveal truth. They are women whose spirits burn brighter after every fall, whose tears cleanse not only their own wounds, but those of others. Their pain becomes their poetry, their silence becomes their strength, and their scars become maps of transcendence. Carl Jung warned that transformation always carries a price. For those who give endlessly without renewal will eventually exhaust the very light they were born to share. The spiritual awakening they carry is not a gentle calling, but a fire, a force that consumes the false self so the true one can emerge from the ashes. Yet that same sacred fire must be tended with care, or it will burn through rather than illuminate. Their power lies not in endurance alone, but in the art of surrender, in knowing when to let go and when to rise again. They are the alchemists of experience, turning pain into wisdom and chaos into clarity. Every betrayal they endure refines their intuition. Every loss teaches them the fragility and beauty of human attachment, and every rebirth draws them closer to divine truth. They walk through the dark with open eyes, not because they enjoy the suffering, but because they understand that only through shadow can the light be seen fully. Their lives are messages written in contrast, each moment of despair birthing a deeper compassion, each fall revealing the strength to climb again. Jung's insight echoes through their journey. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. A reminder that the path of spirituality is not an escape from reality, but a deeper embrace of it. Yet even the strongest spirit can forget its own boundaries. These women must remember that transformation is not meant to consume them, but to refine them. When they pour their energy endlessly into others, without replenishing their own inner flame, they risk dissolving into the very pain they came to heal. The sacred mission of such souls is not martyrdom, but mastery to know how to nurture their light even as they guide others toward theirs. True spirituality is balance, the ability to give and receive, to illuminate and rest, to hold both shadow and light within the same heart. Their rare spiritual power is not found in their ability to suffer, but in their ability to rise, transformed, to walk through fire and emerge radiant, untamed, and whole. And though the world may never fully understand them, their energy silently awakens all who cross their path, reminding humanity that rebirth is not a single moment. It is a lifelong dance between destruction and renewal, between surrender and awakening. If this truth resonates with you, comment below with faith. I embrace the burden of transformation. Remember, every awakening begins with surrender. Subscribe to spiritual wisdom and continue your journey towards spiritual awakening and divine purpose. True spiritual power isn't about control or perfection. It's about presence, awareness, and the courage to live in harmony with your higher self. As Carl Jung reminded us, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Let these 7 signs guide you toward a deeper connection with your own spirit and the unseen wisdom that moves through your life. Which of these signs do you recognize within yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this message awakens something in you, type "I embrace my power" to affirm it. Remember, this is spiritual wisdom, where your awakening begins. Quantum leaping is real. Here's what Carl Jung never taught you. As Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." Today, on Spiritual Wisdom, we're diving into a truth that even Jung himself never fully revealed: the reality of quantum leaping and how it can transform your life. This isn't just theory. It's a doorway to personal growth, happiness, and a deeper spiritual awakening. Imagine breaking free from the limits of your current reality and stepping boldly into the life you've always felt was waiting for you. Are you ready to explore what it really means to leap into a higher version of yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever felt a sudden shift, as if life catapulted you into a new chapter overnight? 1. Quantum jumping is a real, energetic process. Quantum leaping is not simply a metaphor for change, nor is it a mindset trick. It is a vibrational leap, a real energetic process that echoes the mysteries of quantum physics, where electrons do not climb in slow progression, but jump instantaneously from one orbit to another without passing through the space between. This is the hidden pattern of transformation available to us in our own lives. You do not need to crawl step by step toward a new identity, because true change does not come through gradual progression, but through an energetic shift that redefines who you are in a single moment. Spirituality teaches that awakening often arrives like lightning, a sudden illumination rather than a slow dawn. And this is the essence of quantum leaping. You shift identity vibrationally, crossing into the man you were meant to become, the way light instantly fills a room when a switch is flipped. Carl Jung spoke often of individuation, the journey of becoming whole, yet even he never fully explained the instantaneous energetic nature of transformation. The leap is not bound by time or habit, but by vibration. It happens when you stop identifying with the orbit of your old self and accept fully, without hesitation, the frequency of your higher self. This does not mean pretending to be something you are not. It means embodying what already exists in potential, aligning your entire being with a reality that has been waiting for you. A man does not become courageous after years of wrestling with fear. He becomes courageous the moment he decides fear no longer commands him. That decision, that ignition, is a quantum leap, and it reflects the truth that reality responds to your vibration, not your timetable. Every emotion, every thought, every choice is an energetic ripple. But a leap occurs when you choose to sever ties with the old orbit, when you no longer negotiate with the identity of who you once were, but instead inhabit fully the energy of who you are destined to be. This is not reckless change. It is conscious awakening. The moment you realize that life is multidimensional and that the version of yourself you dream of already exists in another frequency. To leap is to embody that frequency now, to stop waiting, to claim it. Spiritual awakening is never about slow accumulation. It is about alignment, and alignment happens the instant you surrender the old vibration and embrace the new. This is why so many men in midlife feel restless and trapped, not because they have failed, but because their soul whispers that the next leap is long overdue. You have walked enough steps on the staircase of incremental progress, and now the path ahead demands a leap, because the life you long for cannot be reached by effort alone, but only by stepping into the consciousness of it here and now. Until you make this shift, your unconscious will continue to steer your path, and you will call it fate, as Jung warned. But when you leap, you seize fate itself and transform it into destiny. A true quantum leap is a spiritual awakening, a deliberate crossing from the man you were into the man you are meant to be. And it happens not tomorrow, not after a slow grind of years, but in the instant you align with the vibration of your higher self. Comment below, "I am leaping into my highest reality," if you are ready to experience the true power of quantum jumping. 2. Discomfort signals the jump. Discomfort is not a sign that you are failing. It is the signal that you are on the edge of transformation. And when you begin to understand this truth, you enter into the very heart of spiritual wisdom that even Carl Jung, with all of his profound psychological insight, only partially revealed. Jung once wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And this is exactly what happens when you experience what modern seekers call a quantum leap. Transformation rarely feels like a smooth or thrilling ascension. Instead, it often arrives as confusion, stillness, or chaos that unsettles the foundations of who you thought you were. These moments of disruption are not accidents, but necessary ruptures. The evidence that your old self is expiring and a new frequency is being born within you. It is like standing in the middle of an earthquake. Everything you relied on shakes. The walls of certainty crack, and you wonder if you will survive. Yet earthquakes do not come to destroy for no reason. They come to clear the ground, to make room for structures that are stronger, truer, and more aligned with the person you are meant to become. Emotional discomfort, whether it shows up as emptiness, misalignment, or that restless gnawing inside your chest, is not a curse or a flaw, but a signpost from your inner world. Jung often reminded us that the psyche uses symptoms to communicate what the conscious mind is unwilling to face, and that what we repress always returns until we have the courage to transform it. So when you feel restlessness or hollowness, do not treat it as a defect in your character, but as the whisper of your soul, urging you to move forward. Think of a snake shedding its skin. The process looks awkward, uncomfortable, even painful, but without it, the snake cannot grow. You too are shedding an identity that no longer serves the next chapter of your life. And though the process may feel unbearable at times, it is sacred. Too many people believe that spiritual awakening should feel serene, blissful, and filled with light at all times. Yet if you study Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom closely, you will see that true awakening often feels like being dismantled before you are rebuilt. He once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul," which explains why many run from discomfort instead of embracing it. But avoiding discomfort only prolongs suffering. When you confront the emptiness and step into the chaos with awareness, you open the door to creation itself. This is where quantum leaping takes place, not in comfort, but in courage. What once appeared as pain becomes a sacred teacher, guiding you toward the higher frequency of your authentic self. Picture a man who has spent decades in a stable job, admired for his reliability, yet inwardly he feels numb, restless, and disconnected. From the outside, nothing is wrong, but inside he knows he cannot continue. That discomfort is not proof that he has wasted his life. It is the universe shaking his foundations, preparing him for a leap. If he listens, he might finally follow his true calling, create deeper connections, or begin a new chapter that aligns with his essence. If he ignores the signs, the restlessness will intensify until change is unavoidable. This is the paradox of growth. The pain you most resist often hides the transformation you most need. So when you find yourself lost in confusion, trapped in stillness, or overwhelmed by chaos, remember that you are not broken. You are in the middle of renewal. Your soul is stretching toward a higher vibration, even if your conscious mind cannot yet understand it. Jung warned, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that is why discomfort matters. It is the unconscious breaking through the surface, demanding that you evolve. Instead of resisting, trust it. That ache in your chest, that gnawing dissatisfaction, that restless longing are not signs of weakness, but proof that your leap has already begun. And when you emerge on the other side, you will not just be surviving, you will be reborn into a life aligned with your deepest truth, a life that Carl Jung would recognize as the reward of those who dare to face the darkness in order to awaken to the light of spiritual wisdom. Do you feel the discomfort calling you forward? If you do, declare it boldly in the comments. I am ready to leap into my new reality. 3. Identity is a frequency. You are not a static being. You are a living frequency, a broadcast that constantly transmits into the unseen field around you. And the truth of quantum leaping lies in this. The universe does not answer to your words or surface desires. It responds to the emotional and vibrational tone you carry within. You may affirm that you want peace, wealth, or love. But if your inner broadcast is still tuned to fear, scarcity, or self-doubt, life will only reflect those old echoes back to you. Carl Jung revealed the power of the unconscious in shaping our destiny when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And here is where spirituality and spiritual growth expand his insight. Fate is not fixed. It is the mirror of your frequency. Transformation is not about forcing new thoughts on top of old wounds. It is about collapsing the vibration of the outdated self and choosing to radiate a new signal, one that already carries the energy of who you are becoming. In the rhythm of modern life, you can see this principle everywhere. Think of someone who wakes up with stress already tightening their chest, scrolling endlessly through notifications, comparing themselves to others, carrying the weight of bills, obligations, and regrets. They tell themselves they want a different day, a breakthrough, yet their body and emotions are still tuned to lack, and so the day plays out like a repetitive script from yesterday. Now picture another person in the same world, rising with intention, taking a deep breath before looking at a screen, choosing gratitude for what already exists, even if circumstances seem unchanged. They align with a frequency of calm, of courage, of joy, and suddenly the world responds. The right call comes at the right time. Conversations feel warmer, and opportunities appear where none seemed possible before. The difference is not luck, it is vibration, the frequency of identity silently shaping what the quantum field returns. Your identity is not the mask you wear. It is the signal you send, and the field is always listening. If you vibrate as someone powerless, life will continuously mirror situations where you feel trapped. If you choose to vibrate as someone capable, worthy, and aligned with truth, life begins to rearrange itself in ways that affirm that broadcast. Albert Einstein's timeless reminder, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. Points directly to this hidden key. You are not waiting for proof to change. You are broadcasting change before proof arrives. Every moment gives you a choice: to stay loyal to yesterday's frequency, or to step into the higher vibration of the self you long to be. Spiritual growth is the practice of noticing what you are broadcasting and daring to shift it again and again until your outer world aligns with your inner truth. When you realize that identity is frequency, you stop asking when life will change and start asking what frequency you are transmitting right now. Because the leap into your new reality begins not when circumstances shift, but when you decide to collapse the old self and radiate the energy of the new. And it is in that moment, repeated with awareness, that true transformation and freedom begin. 4. 5-step process of quantum jumping. When discomfort shows up as restlessness, heaviness, or frustration, it is not a weakness, but a signal that you are standing on the threshold of transformation. Because in the language of spirituality, this tension is energetic interference, pointing you toward a larger version of yourself. Instead of fearing it, see it as confirmation that you are close to breakthrough. For the body and mind often resist most fiercely right before expansion occurs. The key is to recognize that the unease is not punishment, but permission, an invitation to step forward into a new reality. The moment this discomfort arises, the next move is to interrupt the emotional pattern immediately, because emotions are loops that gather momentum if left unchecked. A simple physical change, like shifting your breath into longer exhales, lifting your posture, walking briskly across the room, rinsing your hands with cool water, or even speaking a single sentence of truth out loud snaps you out of the old cycle. By breaking the loop in real time, you create a pause wide enough to insert choice, and that pause is where spiritual awakening begins. From that space, you are called to embody the new timeline even before there is proof. This is not about pretending, but about teaching your nervous system to accept a higher frequency as home. Ask yourself, how would my future self move, breathe, and decide? And then step into it now. Stand taller. Speak with more certainty. Clear the clutter from your environment. Wear something that reflects the man you are becoming. Or write a phrase that your future self would say and declare it aloud. Through these embodied rehearsals, you make confidence and calmness your default, not a distant dream. Once you begin to feel this shift, it is time to take aligned action, not to chase a result, but to signal the universe that you have already become this new version of yourself. Every action is a declaration, so choose something your future self would not delay and do it today. Send the message you've been postponing. Say no to what drains your energy. Dedicate time to building a skill that truly matters. Prepare a nourishing meal, or move your body with focused intention. The power lies in the purity of action, doing it not to grasp an outcome, but to affirm, I am already aligned. The final step is detachment from the outcome. Results may not appear instantly, but holding on to expectation pulls you back into scarcity. The task is to remain in the frequency, no matter what shows up outside you. Return to the breath of your future self. Maintain the posture and tone you practiced. Stay consistent with your routine, and measure success by your to remain faithful to this state. When you release the need to check and control, you invite synchronicity to unfold in its own time, because cause and effect often travel by hidden roads. Through this rhythm, recognizing discomfort as a threshold, breaking the loop, embodying the new state, taking aligned action, and letting go of results, quantum leaping becomes more than an idea. It turns into a repeatable process that blends psychology with spirituality and allows you to walk steadily into your future. And as you practice, subtle signs confirm the leap. Conversations feel lighter, decisions come easier, temptations lose their grip, and opportunities approach with less resistance, all because you tuned yourself to the frequency of the life you chose to live. If you're ready to apply this 5-step process of quantum jumping into your own life, make sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's step into this new reality together. 5. The field responds to emotional congruence, not logic. The field of reality does not bend to clever logic or endless affirmations, but to the resonance of your emotions, because the universe is always mirroring back what you are truly being. You can repeat the word abundance 1,000 times, but if your heart is still heavy with fear, lack, or doubt, the reflection will always be scarcity. This is not punishment, and it is not judgment. It is calibration, a perfect mirror that reveals the frequency you live in. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And this truth shows us why so many remain trapped in cycles of frustration, even when they consciously desire change. Their mind may visualize wealth, love, or freedom, but their unconscious emotions vibrate with the opposite, and the field cannot be fooled, because it responds not to words, but to the deepest state of being. Quantum leaping, then, is not about tricking the universe with mental affirmations, but about embodying the energy of the reality you seek so fully that thought, emotion, and belief move as one. Imagine a radio station. No matter how badly you want to hear your favorite song, unless you tune into the right frequency, all you will hear is static. The same principle applies to manifestation. Until your inner frequency matches your desired reality, the field has nothing coherent to amplify. Spiritual wisdom tells us that the shift occurs when you stop living in contradiction, when your body, mind, and soul are no longer at war. Jung's work on the shadow reminds us that what is hidden within us secretly governs our lives, and until we integrate those hidden wounds, they will sabotage our attempts at transformation. Scarcity is not just a thought. It is a state your body remembers. When fear and lack dominate, your nervous system contracts, your energy field tightens, and your perception narrows. Even if you think abundance, your body betrays the lie because it still carries the memory of struggle. That is why healing, shadow work, and integration are essential. Jung observed that there is no coming to consciousness without pain, because only by facing and embracing what was once rejected can we shift our emotional reality. The moment your emotions align with your conscious vision, the field recalibrates and mirrors abundance, love, or freedom with striking accuracy. The universe, in truth, is an echo chamber of being. You cannot outthink your emotional state, but you can transform it. And this is the real secret of quantum leaping. When your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs flow together in harmony, resistance dissolves, and the field responds instantly. What looks like a miracle is in fact the natural physics of consciousness, and synchronicities, opportunities, and breakthroughs begin to appear as if reality itself is conspiring in your favor. Rumi said, "What you seek is seeking you." And this is not only poetry, but a description of how energy magnetizes when coherence is achieved. You are not being judged. You are being mirrored. The field is not testing you. It is showing you who you are at the level of vibration. To leap into a new timeline, you must stop living in contradiction, because no amount of wishing can override the truth of your emotional frequency. Align your inner state with the reality you long for. Bring the unconscious into light. Heal the fragments of your shadow and embody the abundance you desire. Then the leap is no longer an effort. It becomes a natural unfolding, because the field cannot do anything but reflect the wholeness of what you have become. 6. Doubt collapses the broadcast. Doubt collapses the broadcast because the very instant you ask yourself, "Is it working?" you interrupt the energy that is meant to carry you forward, and in doing so, you weaken the very transformation you are longing for. Constant checking for proof is like pulling a seed out of the soil every day to see if it has sprouted, never giving it the chance to take root. What you truly need in spirituality and spiritual growth is not a fragile belief that shakes when life delays its response, but a broadcast, a clear and unwavering signal of identity that you sustain no matter what the external world reflects back. Think of a radio station. It never stops to check if its sound is reaching you. It simply broadcasts, and because of that constant, the signal inevitably finds the receivers tuned to it. There was once a man who wanted to change his career, yet he sabotaged himself by refreshing his inbox every hour, anxiously searching for confirmation. All this did was drain his energy and reinforce his old identity of waiting and doubting. His shift only came when he decided to live each day as if he were already the professional he envisioned. He dressed the part, spoke with confidence, and invested his time in the work he wanted to embody. Within months, opportunities aligned with his new identity began to appear as if by magic. As Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Broadcasting is precisely this act of turning your chosen identity into a conscious signal that you send out, without tearing it down by demanding immediate evidence. Doubt acts like static on the frequency, clouding your message so that the universe cannot respond clearly, while faith in your broadcast is a clean channel through which synchronicity can move. This is why spiritual wisdom has always taught that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Because the unseen is not less real. It is simply not yet visible. Instead of asking, "Is it working?" the only question that matters is, "Am I still broadcasting?" If the answer is yes, then your role is simply to sustain the signal, because reality will always adjust itself to match the frequency you hold. Your life does not change by chasing proof, but by becoming the steady signal of the life you choose. When you live inside that unwavering broadcast, the proof will not only appear, it will flood you, because reality has no choice but to echo back the vibration you have been faithfully sending. Stay connected with our spiritual wisdom community by subscribing to the channel. Here, we uncover hidden truths and walk together on the path of awakening. Remember, doubt collapses the broadcast, but faith keeps your energy aligned with the abundance already waiting for you. 7. Jumping creates chaos. It's not a sign of failure. A quantum leap is never as smooth as we wish it to be, because when you shift into a new frequency, the field of your life begins to reorganize itself in ways that can feel chaotic and unsettling. What once felt secure suddenly unravels, not as a sign of failure, but as proof that the old structures are being dismantled to make room for something greater. Silence from friends, distance in relationships, or even the loss of opportunities are not punishments, but clearings. The frequency you lived in before cannot survive in the higher vibration you are moving toward. And just like a house being taken apart brick by brick, the dismantling is necessary for the new design to emerge. This process can be disorienting because you are leaving behind familiar territory. And as Carl Jung reminded us, in all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order, meaning that even the confusion has an intelligence working beneath it. When you experience this unraveling, it is easy to misinterpret it as rejection or abandonment, but in truth, it is the universe aligning you with what matches your authentic path. A man who left his corporate job after 2 decades to follow his calling as a healer described how quickly the life he knew began to fall apart. The daily calls and social gatherings that once gave him comfort disappeared, and for a while he thought he had made a mistake. But slowly, new connections arrived, clients, mentors, and friendships that resonated with who he was becoming, rather than who he used to be. The silence became space for him to discover his voice. The loss became room for new opportunities, and the distance gave him clarity about what relationships were truly aligned. What he first experienced as chaos revealed itself to be the very proof of his transformation. This is the essence of spirituality and the path of spiritual awakening. To recognize that what looks like disorder is often a hidden order, working to reshape your life to match your new frequency. You may feel stripped of what once defined you, but this is no different than a snake shedding its skin so it can grow. Misalignments surface so they can be released, and the unraveling is not a collapse, but a rebirth. Each silence, each distance, and each loss carries within it the seed of a new beginning. If you can trust this process, you will see that chaos is not the end. It is the very sign that the leap is real and that life is preparing you for a reality that fully reflects your true self. 8. Staying in the new broadcast anchors the shift. When people attempt to quantum leap into a higher version of themselves, most fail not because the leap is impossible, but because they do not remain in the new vibration long enough for reality to align with it. They jump with excitement, but impatience and old conditioning quickly pull them back into their familiar patterns, and in that collapse, they mistakenly believe the leap has failed. In truth, reality is not instant, but elastic, bending slowly to meet the frequency you hold. Just as a seed requires time in the soil before it breaks through the surface, your new vibration needs time to anchor before the outer world can reflect it back to you. And here lies the deeper spiritual wisdom that even Carl Jung, with all his insight into the human psyche, never fully revealed. Transformation is not only about the initial spark, but the sustained resonance that follows. To remain in that frequency requires trust, discipline, and awareness. Jung himself once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The unconscious pulls of fear, doubt, and impatience are what drag you back into your old life. And unless you confront them, you cannot sustain your new identity. It is in the moments when no one is watching, in the silence of your own thoughts and emotions, that your true broadcast is sent into the universe. What you feel when the world is not looking shapes reality more than what you perform publicly, because vibration speaks louder than words. If your inner life is scattered between faith and doubt, your signal is fragmented. But when your inner life is steady in trust, reality has no choice but to bend toward it. Every time you question, why hasn't it happened yet? You are unknowingly sending out the vibration of lack, and lack cannot create abundance. Impatience is not just restlessness. It is mistrust in disguise, and mistrust interrupts the leap. To hold the vibration is to dwell in the as if, to embody already having what you desire until it becomes natural, until it seeps into your unconscious and becomes your default state. William James reminded us that belief creates the actual fact, and belief is not measured in moments of passion, but in the quiet consistency of your inner stance. Ralph Waldo Emerson echoed this truth when he said, "The ancestor of every action is a thought. For when thought is sustained with unwavering feeling, it inevitably becomes reality." Quantum leaping, then, is not a sudden miracle, but an inner discipline, a commitment to keep your vibration steady no matter how long reality takes to catch up. This is where true spiritual awakening begins, because spirituality is not only belief in the unseen, but the patience to live within it until the scene transforms. The leap is real the moment you refuse to collapse, the moment you choose trust over doubt, the moment you breathe through the silence and remind yourself that the shift is already unfolding. When your inner broadcast stays aligned, reality has no choice but to respond. And so the great lesson, beyond Jung's exploration of the unconscious, is that you are not only a seeker of hidden truths, but also a transmitter of frequencies that shape the world. What you feel when no one else can see is not just a private moment, it is the seed of your new reality. If you're still with us on this journey, comment below, "I'm anchored in the shift." Your words show us that you're ready to stay in the new broadcast and help us build this community together. 9. Certainty without evidence is the key. The strongest signal you can ever hold is certainty in yourself, not in the outcome. Because when you are rooted in who you are becoming, rather than what you are chasing, life begins to rearrange itself to match that signal. The field, as Carl Jung hinted but never fully taught, responds with greater speed when you stop needing proof. Because proof is only the echo of your inner state. Reality never bends to frantic effort or desperate control. It bends when you consistently embody the signal of who you already know yourself to be. Think of how often in daily life people delay stepping forward until the evidence arrives, waiting for the promotion before claiming leadership, waiting for validation before speaking their truth, waiting for a perfect sign before trusting love. Yet the real shift comes when you flip the order, when you stop auditioning and begin living as though your role is already secured. A modern story illustrates this. A man who wanted to start his own business kept postponing his launch until he had one more degree, one more investor, one more nod of approval. But the day he wrote down, "I am a capable founder who builds solutions people need," and began acting from that certainty, introducing himself that way, creating as though it were real, organizing his life around it, doors opened with unexpected ease. Clients and partners showed up, not because he forced results, but because his signal was finally clear. This is spirituality made practical. This is spiritual growth lived, not as abstract belief, but as daily choices rooted in trust. You can feel it in your own body the moment you stop negotiating with doubt. Your breath steadies, your posture shifts, and your voice carries conviction because you are no longer waiting for evidence to tell you who you are. Certainty is not arrogance or denial. It is alignment with a chosen identity that you hold through both victories and setbacks, adjusting methods when needed, but never abandoning the signal. This is the essence of a quantum leap, not a magical rescue, but a disciplined identity shift that pulls results into orbit around you. To live this truth, craft one clear sentence about who you are and practice being that signal without checking for proof. Honor daily rituals that anchor your certainty. Keep promises to yourself to strengthen trust, and let outcomes inform your tactics, but never your self-definition. The field will mirror you more quickly when you stop demanding signs and instead become the sign. And when you remain consistent long enough, reality itself has no choice but to reorganize around your unwavering presence. 10. Don't seek proof. Become the signal. What if the real reason you remain stuck is not because life is blocking you, but because you keep transmitting the same frequency of the past instead of aligning with the energy of the future you desire? In the language of spirituality and spiritual awakening, this is the essence of a quantum leap. It is not about chasing proof from the outside. It is about becoming the living proof yourself. When you pause and ask, "Am I broadcasting my future, or am I rehearsing my past?" you open a doorway to transformation, because every thought, every feeling, and every inner rehearsal is a signal sent into the field of possibility. Carl Jung spoke profoundly about the unconscious shaping our lives, yet he never showed us how deliberately shifting our inner broadcast could realign us with new timelines. That is where spiritual wisdom expands the conversation, revealing that the leap is never dramatic or chaotic. It arrives quietly, subtly, and in perfect elegance, showing itself not through explosions of change, but through alignment that feels natural, inevitable, and deeply right. You begin to notice coincidences that cannot be ignored, synchronicities that feel like signposts placed precisely in your path, and opportunities that seem to appear as if summoned by your very thoughts. These are not random accidents. They are confirmations that your signal has shifted, that you are no longer tethered to the old narrative, but walking inside a new one. Consider the man who, for years, wakes each morning rehearsing the same story of frustration about his job, repeating words of limitation, and unconsciously tying himself to a cycle he secretly hates. The moment he dares to imagine something different, the moment he begins to carry himself as though the future he longs for is already unfolding, his signal changes. At first, the shift is invisible, but slowly, small cracks in the old reality appear. A conversation overheard, a new connection introduced, an unexpected opening revealed. Within months, he finds himself living a reality once beyond reach, not because the world magically changed, but because his signal called it into existence. This is why, when you feel that subtle, elegant shift inside, you must not dismiss it as mere coincidence. It is evidence. Every synchronicity is the universe whispering, "Yes, you jumped." The true proof is not external validation, but the undeniable realignment of your inner world with what now flows into your life. The leap does not require shouting or demanding. It requires broadcasting a new frequency with such clarity that reality itself bends to meet you. This is the heart of spirituality, the living pulse of spiritual awakening. To stop seeking proof and instead become the signal Because once you embody the future you desire, life cannot resist reflecting it back to you. Throughout this video, we explored the hidden truth behind quantum leaping and how it connects with ideas Carl Jung never fully explained. You've discovered that a leap isn't just a metaphor, it's a real shift in consciousness, a bridge between who you are today and the life you are capable of living. Now the question is, will you dare to apply these principles in your own life? Every step you take with awareness can open new possibilities for growth, happiness, and spiritual awakening. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe you are ready to take your quantum leap? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next journey into deeper truths.